TFA Fam, what is going on? Thank you for joining us for another Fantasy Authority show. We've already covered all of the rookies, all of our top rookies for this year, so you can go back and check those shows out. And now it's time to start breaking in and chipping away at the redraft stuff, taking a way too early look at some of our rankings. Tonight we are kicking things off at the quarterback position. Just going to look at our top 12. There's still going to be some stuff that's changing. We are recording this on the 9th. We've gotten some free agency news with the franchise tags and whatnot. So still going to be more to come. We're going to have a live show coming for you for the free agency stuff. That is going to be next Wednesday. We'll go live for that, so make sure you join us. But, Kev, let's go ahead and just jump right into this, man. Let's talk about these top 12 quarterbacks, the early look, the early rankings. All right, so just to read these off real quick, if you're not watching along with us on YouTube, our top two are the same, Mahomes and Prescott. 3, 4, and 5, we have the same guys, just in different orders. Kev, you have 3, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, and Deshaun Watson at 5. I have Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson, and Kyler Murray at 5. And then at 6, you have Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, Matthew Stafford, and Joe Burrow is your QB 12. And then at 6, I have Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers at 7, Justin Herbert at 8, Russ at 9, Burrow at 10, Jalen Hurts at 11, and then Matt Stafford at 12. Who do you want to touch on here earlier on? Give us one of these top guys that you want to touch on.
Yeah, well, one, I think it's good that we got to see Dak Prescott, finally get signed today. So we got that problem out of the way. Signed the 40 or $160 million deal. I think he's locked in as the number 2 quarterback, in my opinion. He offers some in rushing upside. Obviously, he's not, the Lamar Jackson, but I think he can give you somewhat similar to probably a Josh Allen type, Sean Watson type range. 300-400 yards rushing probably is looking at it kind of like a ceiling, but he can get you 5 to 6 rushing touchdowns. And, being surrounded in that offense with CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup, like that offense is primed. Like we saw it last year. They were on pace. He was on pace last year to throw for well over 5,000 yards. So I think this offense, once again this year is in a really good spot. That defense is still trash. We'll have to wait and see kind of what they do through the draft. Kyler Murray, I'm happy with him there. Like I feel like people have him a little lower than they should. I know he kind of finished the season kind of a little bit poorly. He was injured, and I think that should be taken into consideration. But his rushing upside is right there with the best of them. And, to be honest with you, I think he just kind of continues to get better as a passer. So, I love Kyler Murray, having me at number 3. I'm probably a little bit lower on Josh Allen, maybe for some, but I think there's a little bit of a regression coming his way. I mean, he was very efficient last year. I don't think it's anything major, but I just like Kyler, and I think his overall rushing ceiling a little bit more. The one guy I think that worries me the most right here in this range, and I don't know how you feel about him, but is Deshaun Watson, because for me, like right now, we just don't know what's going to happen with them. I honestly don't. I'm starting to lean more towards the Texans may not actually trade him and just call his bluff, right? Because they don't have to do anything. I mean, they can hold on to him and kind of see what he's going to do here, because there's no way he's going to sit out this entire year and pass up on that kind of money. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here. But let's just say he doesn't get traded. Like, do you still like him at 4? As a member of the Texans, without probably Will Fuller, they're not going to have a first round pick. They really don't have that much money to spend. And honestly, with the way the situation goes, I can't imagine many free agents want to sign there.
It's definitely a concern for sure. I personally saw enough during that stretch without Will Fuller that makes me think that he is locked in as one of the top quarterbacks just in the league, just from an NFL standpoint and fantasy as well. He was able to put up points with Brandon Cooks out there and then nothing else. And, Cooks has been bouncing around the league for the past couple of years, so it's not like he's been viewed as a locked in top guy either. So I think Deshaun Watson just showed me enough last year during those stretches that I feel comfortable having him here. He has that rushing ability and the rushing upside as well, kind of what you were talking about with Dak. Not to the level of a Murray or a Jackson or someone like that, but he can definitely get it done on the ground as well. So he's someone I still like in that range. And just to touch on Kyler Murray real quick, if he can finally put everything together with his rushing and the passing, because there's definitely room for improvement there. He's kind of been up and down with that early on in his career in the NFL. but I think he could be a dark horse candidate as the QB1 if he can put it all together. Like, he has the Lamar Jackson rushing upside with like the Dak Prescott, Josh Allen passing upside. So if he could put it all together, like, I felt like I was kind of low on him at 5, but I just like that top 4 so much that it's not necessarily a slight to him. I just like those guys above him a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was, but I just feel like he was well on his way to that last year until the injury happened. I mean, if you look at the first 11 weeks of the season, he was a top 5 quarterback in almost every one of those weeks. You know, he was dropping monster numbers, and then week 12 happened against New England where he had 8.9, and then it kind of fell off a little bit, 17.4, 18.5, 34.1 against Philly, but then 16.4 and 3.8. Like, things really kind of fell off there. Really in the second half of the season. So I feel like he was really heading that way. But I feel like not just necessarily what you're saying, but you know, probably with a guy we'll talk about here in a second. But what we end up seeing a lot with fantasy football, and it's almost, I can almost call it every single year what guys people are going to be down on or a little bit further down on, and what guys are going to be higher on based on how guys finish. Like, recency bias is a real SOB, right? And people really lean too far into it. And you know, I think I could see people with this kind of the same sentiment that, you know, that, oh, look how bad he finished and everything else. But the dude was a monster last year. I mean, he was 3rd in fantasy points per game. I mean, he really crushed it last year. And I think with another year, you know, if he can stay healthy, you know, with his rushing upside, like the sky is the limit. And I definitely agree that he has QB1 upside definitely in him. I mean, he had 819 rushing yards and 11 rushing touchdowns last year. Like, you really can't replace that, right? Like, that is something that that it is really hard to find. And I think that, I guess we could probably go over and let's just talk about Jalen Hurts, because I think he's the other guy. I think he has that Kyler Murray type upside this year, right? Like, he could be this year's Kyler Murray, or this year's, you know, the year before, you know, it was Lamar Jackson. Like, every year we've kind of had this guy, and I think it really could be Jalen Hurts. And there's a lot of people that hate Jalen Hurts and think that he's just a bum, and basing everything that he did last year off of those 4 weeks that he played. I mean, we really saw the flashes from him in that little 4-game span. You know, the game against Arizona where he dropped 37.8, 338 passing yards in that game. But his rushing upside, 106, 63, 69, 34, 3 rushing touchdowns over that span. Even the game against Washington where he got pulled, what was it, late third quarter, something like that. He still put up 17.3, which isn't fantastic, but you definitely won't be upset with that as a fantasy owner, right? Because he has that built-in rushing upside. And that's what I think sometimes people don't understand. Like, I don't give a shit what you think about a player is in real life. Like, we're not talking about that. I don't care. I just care about what you can give me from a fantasy upside, right? And I think you have to feel like the Philly is definitely going to address that offense. They're probably going to take at 6. I know I've seen some people mock quarterbacks to go there. I think that's fucking ridiculous. I don't think they're going to take a quarterback. It would just be absolutely ridiculous for them to trade Carson Wentz the way they did with Jalen Hurts on the roster, just spending a second-round pick on him last year to turn right back around this year and take a quarterback with a top 6 picks. It doesn't make any sense. I don't think they're going to do it. And from what we've heard so far, what came out this week, that Jeff Lurie wants to surround Jalen Hurts with talent. I think they would be stupid to pass up on a guy like Jamar Chase, who's likely going to be sitting there at 6 for them. You know, I don't think you pass up on that. I think you correct the wrong last year of passing on Justin Jefferson. Then you're talking about an offense with Dallas Goedert, with second-year Jalen Reagor, who I think Jalen Reagor can still be a solid number 2. And then, you know, Jamar Chase with Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts. And that becomes a really exciting offense with an offensive line that'll be back.
Yeah, I think the healthy offensive line is going to be key there as well. Let me get your thoughts on Matt Stafford. You know, you were talking about, you know, the not having the picks with Texans, not having the cap room with the Texans. We could say the same thing about the Rams. If they don't make any significant improvements in terms of, I guess not even improvements, but additions to the wide receivers, if they're going to roll with Woods and Kupp again, does that worry you at all? Where I'm coming from with this is I think they need that field stretcher. I'm hoping Marvin Jones follows Stafford out to the Rams, but I kind of think they need that field stretcher to get the most out of Stafford. If they don't add somebody like that, you know, with some speed, are you going to really drop him down any lower? Or are you just going to kind of sit him in this range?
Depending on what they decide to do, let's put it this way: with the weapons that they have, like I think that this offense can still be one of the best in the league with Stafford there. Like, it's a huge upgrade over Goff, right? And I think Stafford has always been underrated, but you give him Robert Woods, you give him Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee is still there, you have Cam Akers. Like, this is the makings of a really good offense. But I do agree that they definitely need that field stretcher. I don't think they need to go out and sign like a Will Fuller or anything like that to make it happen. I think you bring in a guy,
Right.
even like a guy like John Ross or something like that, who has that speed that maybe, because I still think Van Jefferson as the number three wide receiver there, I think it can still be really solid. But you adding another guy into that offense, I think even if they wanted to draft somebody maybe a little bit later, maybe take a flyer on a Tamori and Terry, later in that draft, and pair him there and put him there, let him sit behind these guys and learn a little bit. But I think they definitely do need that field stretcher guy who's going to be able to take it deep. I don't hate Marvin Jones, but I don't know if he's as much that now as he was earlier in his career. Like, he still has it in his bag, but I just don't think he's going to be somebody that's consistent. I think it would make sense to add somebody, like I said, like a John Ross type with that 4.3 speed that he has. Give him another opportunity in an offense that's very creative with Sean McVay in this offense with Matt Stafford. I think that would be fun too.
So obviously still with a lot to change in terms of free agency, and then obviously with the draft. Didn't want to go too in depth with any of these guys with the top 12, but who were just rattle off a couple names who were falling just outside, who maybe if with the right kind of like situation might be able to jump up into that 11-12 range and bump somebody out. Who were the next couple of names in your ranks?
Well, just a couple of guys that I do like. I think it's Carson Wentz. Like, I think that he's going to be a guy that everybody's you're either going to like him or you're going to hate him, right? I do think him going to Indy, a new situation with a fresh start, with an offensive-minded coach like Frank Reich, I think this is really going to help him. I think that when you talk about the weapons that they have there with Michael Pittman, Paris Campbell, and I think this team has a lot of money to spend. Like, this could be a team that does sign Kenny Golladay. This could be a team that signs a Will Fuller type, right? Like, I think it's definitely in the range of possibilities for them because they have a shitload of money to spend. And I think this is an opportunity for them to kind of go all in. But they have a really pretty solid defense. They don't have a ton of holes. Their offensive line is still really good. So I like Carson Wentz quite a bit. And I think this is a good bounce back spot for him. I know a lot of people hate Carson Wentz and think that he's just complete trash. I think that he's better than what we saw last year. And I think in the right situation, he could. The other guy is probably Jameis Winston, right? I'm hoping that he does re-sign with the Saints. That I know there was been a lot of talk that's kind of where he's expected to go back to. We'll see, because I think if he goes to the Saints, if they bring him back, there's no way that I can see that Jameis Winston goes back to the Saints and sits on the bench behind Taysom Hill. Like, I feel like if they bring him back, if they sign with him, he's there. He's going back as the starter because he has plenty of opportunities. He could go other places to be that. So if he does, he is. Whew, to the moon, baby, on my ranks. Like, he is flying up. With him, with Sean Payton, and then offense with Michael Thomas, or Alvin Kamara out of the backfield could be a lot of fun. And he is a guy that can best ball. It's almost absolutely free. He's going to like QB 29 or something like that. But even if he signs, like he's a real contention guy if he goes back to the Saints to be a top 12 quarterback in my ranks.
Just a couple of names that I have here right after my top 12. Obviously guys like Tannehill, Brady. I have Baker at 15 right now. Someone who I am definitely keeping my eye on, Trevor Lawrence. You want to talk about a team that has a bunch of money, a bunch of cap to be able to spend. That's one. Thinking about someone like Golladay going there on the opposite side of Chark with Laviska Shenault there, your boy James Robinson, like that could be really fun. And he would be somebody who I would be having kind of right on that fringe, 12, 13, 14 kind of ranking, depending on what else they do and what else they surround him with. Even in the draft, I mean, they have, I think, 5 picks in the top like 65. I know they have 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and then their third. So that's a really interesting situation for me. I'm going to be keeping my eye on because dropping him into something like that could be a lot of fun. So any other thoughts here, or are we going to wrap this pop up?
No, it was good to get back into some redraft talk, right? Like, it's been a while, but we're heading right down that line again of redraft, a few more months and we'll be full steam ahead on the redraft stuff. So we wanted to give everybody a little bit of a redraft talk, right? A little bit of season long stuff to hold you over for a little while longer till we get through this. And but yeah, I think we didn't really want to go too in depth on this because there's so much stuff left to change with free agency, the draft. So there's no point in going super in depth. But I felt like this was a good litmus test to see where we're at on some of these guys and kind of a refresher from a couple of months ago when the season ended.
Yeah, for sure. So that is going to wrap it up. One thing I do want to mention before we get out of here, we are doing our first draft guide for TFA this year. We posted something about it on our YouTube page. If you head over to the community tab, you'll see it there. But we would love to get some feedback from you guys if you have bought draft guides in the past, even if you haven't, whatever you are looking for. What are some things that would make you buy one if you haven't? What are the things that you think are must-haves? We have a lot of good ideas. We have a solid starting point with this, but we would love to get some more feedback from you guys. So if you're listening on podcast, drop us a rate and review and just put your thoughts on a draft guide. We definitely want to make this the best product possible for you guys. So your input would be very much appreciated. So looking forward to hearing your thoughts. And if you haven't dropped a comment on the YouTube, go ahead and do that as well so we can start putting this together, and we'll definitely have some updates for you guys as the off season goes on. So for myself, for Kev, for TFA, we will talk to you guys soon.